I fought for God. Who do you fight for, Exile?
Hello and welcome to another Path of Exile guide. With Metamorph League dropping in a few days, this is the best time to decide on that perfect starter build. If you're a new player, this choice is quite important as it can make the difference between actually enjoying the game or giving up in frustration. And if you're already somewhat experienced, then you'll likely understand that a good start can set the stage for success for the rest of the league. Before going to the builds themselves, I just need to talk a bit about what actually is and makes a good league starter build. A league starter is a build whose purpose is to get you, as fast as possible, to the point where you can farm tier 7 or 8 maps. That is a sweet spot where you start generating a good amount of currency and get decent drops, which should allow you to buy or craft proper gear. A good starter should be able to transition from that point to become an endgame build by acquiring better and more expensive items. Ideally, this should be possible with minimal passive points respecking. Since starting a new league means you have absolutely nothing in your stash, a good starter build should be able to reach that Atlas mid-tier with self-found gear and cheap items. It shouldn't rely on expensive or hard to get unique items, but rather ones that are always in abundance or obtainable using divination cards which can be easily farmed. And just to clarify, while all builds will have some endgame recommended gear that is more expensive, at that point we're no longer talking about a starter build. For example, the Archwitch build does perfectly fine as a starter with self-found rare items, but for endgame an Impulsa armor is recommended. This does not however mean it needs that item to be an effective starter build. By the point you'll get it, you're no longer in the starter phase. Then a good starter should be able to run any type of content and most if not all map modes. While boss killing is outside the scope of a league starter, it should however do fairly well in a wide range of scenarios. An ideal starter should also use its main skill early on so you get plenty of practice and not waste too much time on changing your gem setups. In addition to that, a good league starter should be easy to play without complicated mechanics or combos and supported by a clear build guide. No matter how great a build is, if you're wasting hours to figure out how to play it or choose the wrong leveling path in the passive tree, your efficiency will drop significantly. Finally, all the builds that I'll showcase have been tested, fine-tuned or designed by myself. They work great as starter builds for a number of leagues now and are proven to be reliable for new players and veterans alike. I cannot really endorse or recommend builds that I haven't personally tested and played extensively. So now that it's clear what makes a good league starter, here are my recommendations for the next league. First up is the amazing Scourge Arrow Ranger, which fits very well with the bow skills focus of the new league. Incredibly fast paced and with amazing clearing capabilities, this poison build is a farming and leveling beast. Most of its efficiency comes from gems and passives rather than gear, making it perfect for the first days of a new league. It doesn't really need any mandatory uniques and even its best in slot gear is usually really cheap. Just grab any bow with decent attack speed and you're good to go. Focus your other gear on defenses and you'll cruise through story mode and the first Atlas tiers. Finally, the developers have hinted that the skill will be buffed in the new league, dealing more damage than before when investing into chaos damage, and this is exactly what this version of the build does. You can go to the video guide for Scourge Arrow by clicking on that eye thing in the upper right corner or follow the links in the video description and pinned comment. If you're more of a hardcore player or just hate seeing your HP drop, then Molten Strike Juggernaut could be your best choice as the Metamorph League starter. This surprisingly quick Ironclad Titan is almost unkillable unless you go completely AFK or walk around buck naked. Using one of the tankiest ascendancies in Path of Exile, Molten Strike Juggernaut is the perfect build for new players, giving you enough breathing room to learn the game at your own pace. It's far more forgiving with any mistakes and allows you to get familiar with various encounters and more difficult game content. With incredibly high attack speed and a generous area of effect for magma projectiles, clearing large packs of mobs is always a breeze. And since multiple projectiles can hit the same target, its boss killing capabilities are similarly good. This will come in very handy considering that the new league central mechanic revolves around creating some sort of super boss mutants. Many of the support gems used by this build will have a plus version in 3.9, so the build will be stronger than ever before. While the best in slot weapons are 2 unique swords, in the early stages of the league any 2 rare ones with some fire damage and attack speed will work great as well. Conversely, if you want to go all in on the defensive path, playing one-handed plus shield is completely viable and doesn't require any changes in the passive tree. The build has plenty of flexibility to suit any playstyle and it's tanky enough to allow even less experienced players to try all the content in the game. Up next is the ever popular Archwitch. This build is almost synonym with the concept of league starter and there are very good reasons for that. Arch is one of the best clearing skills in the game which depends very little on gear. When leveling you can pick up any scepter, wand or stuff you find and they'll work great. With a very intuitive playstyle and absolutely no complex mechanics, it's a beginner's best friend. Fast paced and amazing at killing large packs of mobs, you'll cruise through story mode and knock the first few Atlas tiers with ease. It's able to run literally every map mode, and that is a huge advantage when mapping. You won't waste any time or currency rerolling maps and will get a lot more drops, greatly boosting your efficiency. Lastly, one of the greatest things about Arc is its reliability. Over time, it has been one of the most nerf-free skills in the game. Even without having the full patch notes, you can almost always bet on Arc to remain as strong as ever. Even though the build has been tweaked and improved over the past few leagues, its core has always remained the same, and it's still one of the best league starters out there. You'll find those changes detailed in the guide's pinned comment and Path of Building guide aid. The next great starter build is the Badass Cyclone Slayer. If fast-paced, brutal melee combat is more to your liking than casting spells, then this is the perfect build for you. Grab 2 swords with decent physical damage and spin your way through the entire game. If you've ever played Whirlwind Barb in any Diablo game, well, this is Path of Exile's equivalent. Incredible mobility, excellent clearing speed and really solid damage are all perks of the now famous Cyclone Slayer. On top of that, it uses one of the very few skills in the game which can continuously apply damage while constantly moving. Killing enemies while repositioning and evading dangerous stuff is a great defensive mechanism, and it only gets stronger as you become better at positioning. The build is also not at all gear dependent and doesn't need any specific unique items. On top of that, items boosting physical or melee damage are always abundant, so you'll have plenty to choose from. This version of the build is also intentionally designed as a very budget oriented one, making it ideal as a league starter. Absolutely no insanely expensive items which are impossible to obtain at the beginning of a new league. While its efficiency was somewhat nerfed in Blight League, I've added a few great workarounds in the guide's pinned comment. Make sure to check that out to make the best out of the build. Finally, it is a very fun build to play, and if you're a new Path of Exile player, then this will provide a perfect taste of what the game has to offer. You can find the link to the full guide in the pinned comment and video description. Clicking on that I think in the upper right corner will take you there as well. Finally, I would suggest the recently updated and revamped Zombiemancer as your next league starter. A classic necromancer / summoner build archetype, it practically makes every other build look weak in comparison. It mainly focuses on zombies and a host of other minions which are there to buff them. By using the Baron helmet and stacking strength attribute, you constantly increase the number of zombies you can summon. And together with Montegruel's scepter, these zombies will become incredibly strong and tanky. You're basically there as a general for your undead army, making sure they're attacking the right targets and keeping them alive. With over 10,000 effective HP, huge amounts of regen and life leech, good block chance and plenty of meat shields around you, you're almost invincible. While the build requires a few key unique items for its final form, none are mandatory while leveling or progressing in the first weeks of a new league. Now it's quite obvious that Blight League has been focused on Necromancer, so we'll likely see some nerfs in the upcoming season. However, this build has been exceptionally strong even before Blight and will surely continue to do so in Metamorph as well. So if you wanna try a summoner build, this is probably the perfect time to do that. Prices will drop and good gear will be available in abundance as most players will go for bow builds. Going off meta is always a good idea for league starter builds.
Learn anything new, Exile?
If you did, then you'll probably be happy to hear that there are more videos coming up in the near future with more exciting builds to try. Make sure not to miss them by subscribing to the channel so you get notified when that happens. And while you're at it, why not like this video as well or drop a comment down below to let me know your thoughts. Thank you all for watching and see you next time.